beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time watching, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving me your time of day. I'm sure you have lots of things to do, so you spending your time here with me is very valuable to me, so I'm very grateful. I hope that what you hear from me is going to enhance your life in some way, shape, or form. My job as Joanna, if you will, is to essentially help you move through the process of ascension. And what does ascension mean in simple words? It's to, quote unquote, move higher. This is not a physical movement. This is not a geographical movement. This is a expansion of your awareness. So it's a movement towards a heightened level of expression, understanding, consciousness. If you're here watching something like this, then you already know that we are moving through what is called a process of ascension. We are simply leaving behind the old in favor of something new, something bigger, something better, something more expanded. And because we are in this process, it means everything and everyone is undergoing this process of ascension in some unique way. And collectively, what we are going through is the process of involution. Evolution on the outside, involution on the inside. We are in the process of detaching ourselves from our limited ego. And that has many, many, many benefits, but it can also be a little bit scary and uncomfortable. And that's because what it means to leave the ego behind means to no longer be ruled or restricted or limited by the construct of ego. But it's not that we are letting go of ego completely. As long as we are in a physical body, we, I believe, must have some ego. Ego helps us make sense out of this 3D world. So our ego is essential in this human body, but it doesn't have to dictate everything. And for most of us humans who associate themselves with the body, ego usually has a hold on you. And when our ego has a hold on us, we are essentially being limited by our own ego. And humanity wants to experience life beyond the confinements of the ego. Humanity desires to be and experience more. So we are going through this process, this involution process, whereby we are beginning to see ourselves as something more than just a physical body. And questions like, who am I, for example, is a really interesting question, because when you ask somebody, hey, who are you? They're going to refer themselves to a body. You know, I am whatever the name is. I do this, I do this. But those are all constructs. So when you ask somebody, hey, who are you? Aside for naming the labels that they associate themselves with, they actually don't know who they really are outside of those labels. And we often see ourselves as the labels that we are holding on to. For example, a label that says I am not capable will not allow you to be more, because that part of your ego, that part of your structure says you can't. And when the ego decides something, it's very hard to change its mind. It has to have a good enough incentive to change its mind. So we are essentially in a process of changing our minds from inside out. And as you already know, mind is a powerful thing. So it's not a small process we're going through, this involution process. By the way, when I was getting ready for this video, I got an interesting tidbit. Did you know that Yeshua or Jesus was a shaman? I'm like, okay. So according to my team, Yeshua was a shaman. I actually Googled, and yes, there is something that says according to all the deeds that he did, he was basically practicing shamanic ways, so he could be therefore called a shaman. I thought that was interesting. I can't prove it. And of course, many people will have different opinions, but I thought that was interesting. It's kind of cool because I really am into this shamanism thing. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are returning, of course, without any of you, I wouldn't feel the need to do what I do. And what I channel is what I consider higher vibrating information so that we can all move through this process of ascension, of involution in a easier, maybe more relaxed way, if that's even possible. And that's because this is not a very relaxing process that we are going through. And I'm sure you can tell just looking at the outside. There's very little relaxation going on in this world right now. Everything seems to be in chaos. However, chaos is necessary in order for there to be some order. In order for there to be some order, there first has to be chaos. And we are going through this chaos process in order to realign ourselves with something more. And that something more is an awareness, a much broader, wider, much more expanded awareness. What's so special about an expanded awareness? Well, for one, in an expanded awareness, we see things as possible rather than impossible. And that's because in a higher state of awareness, very few things are impossible. That's how powerful we are. For example, the more we say to ourselves something like, I can't, the more we won't. That's just the way it is. On the other hand, when we start saying and practicing, yes, I can, then that means that there's an opportunity for something to be more. So we are moving to this higher state of awareness so that we can experience and embody more of who we really are. Which, okay, great question. Who are we? And I just heard we are a process of God. That's interesting, a process of God. We are constantly in the process of evolving. And we come from, some call it God, some call it Source. And humanity at large forgot where it comes from. Humanity believes that it comes out of some single identity. God has no identity. One could say God invented identity, but God has no identity. It has no gender. It holds no judgment. It cannot be explained in human terms what God is. we could say that God is, there is nothing that God is not. There's nothing that Source is not. Which means, if there is nothing that Source is not, everything, and I mean everything, is part of Source. And so are you. And because we are part of Source, we are infinite because Source is infinite. So we are infinite beings having a finite experience. And we can have infinite number of these finite experiences. As a soul, we come here to evolve. Not because we're stupid somehow, but because we want to have more experience. Why would we want to have more experience? Because it is through an experience that we realize ourselves. So we're all here to realize ourselves. But always heading back to Source, always moving towards Source. One could say that we're always on the road to going home. Home meaning Source, or where we come from. But anyway, as we go through this process, I'm supposed to tell you, thank you. I had a dream on July 31st. And this piece is important for what we're going to talk about today. Actually, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about the process of ascension. What does it mean to be in this new earth? What are the great things about being in this new earth? And also, what are its challenges? Because there are many. This is not a walk in the park, as one could say. This is... nor is it a highway. We don't speed through it. It's a journey, and it's a considerable journey. It's a big journey. We have undertaken a big journey. A journey to what? Thank you. Journey to higher consciousness, essentially. So we are on a journey to higher consciousness, but it's an inner journey, as I've said before. So the dream I had on July 31st was, and it wasn't a dream. Even though it was a dream, I know it was not a dream. I just know. Where I dreamt about being penetrated by this light. And the weird thing is that I've seen this light before. I have no idea where. I have been searching on Google trying to find a picture of the light that I saw, and I can't find it anywhere. As no matter what word I put in, I can't find it anywhere. But I've seen it before. I know I can tell, I've seen it before. Anyway, so in my dream, this light is coming towards me, and I'm thinking, oh, this is alien, but also not alien at the same time. In other words, it was kind of sort of new to me, but it wasn't, which kind of messes with the brain, right? And as this light was coming towards me, it was permeating everything and everyone within its path, and it was everywhere. And as it went through me, almost like a laser, and I remember in the dream, I had to hold my breath in a certain way as this light was coming through me like a laser. And I believe I had to hold my breath, wait until this light moves through me, and then I was able to exhale. This is something what I did in my dream. I suspect it was necessary. Anyway, as this light went through me, I remember thinking to myself in the dream, wow, I am completely different right now, yet I don't know what's changed. So I had this awareness. I'm completely different, but I don't know how. So that was the first realization. The second realization was that from this point forward, anything is possible. And I mean anything, even the fact that I could disappear if I wanted to, which totally messed with my human brain because that doesn't make any sense. And I believe there was another awareness that I had that was, I can do anything. This was the result of this light going through me. One could say I had some sort of an awakening in my dream. And when I woke up, I had to write this down because I knew this was somehow really important. And I shared this with somebody, and they said, oh, by the way, there has been some mediums or psychics or people who have been talking about this light going through on planet Earth and affecting everything and everyone. And I thought to myself, I wonder if that's literally what happened. I happened to be aware of it in my dream. Maybe many or most wouldn't have that awareness. I don't know, but this is very interesting. So here's what I will say. Ever since then, I have been feeling different. If you tell me how, I have no idea how to explain it. I'm just different somehow. I don't know how, I'm just different. So that's kind of puzzling to my human brain. I see things shifting around me in terms of just being more in tune, being less in my analytical brain, which, by the way, yay to that, and much more aware of some higher presence. And so I know that something in me is changing. I can't quite put a finger on what, but ever since that light went through me, things have changed. So I wonder if you feel the same way, because I've talked to a few people who said, yeah, I feel different, I just don't know what it is. I'm like, I bet you that's what it is. Now, I had a similar dream exactly 3 months earlier where a light went through me, but this was different because when it was going through me, I knew that I was being reconfigured. So maybe I needed to be reconfigured in order to have this, I don't know, in order to be ready for this other light. I have no idea. Point is, you're likely going to, if you haven't already, find yourself feeling different somehow. Something is different, but I don't know what's different. It can feel puzzling, it can feel disorienting, it can feel like you are losing your mind. Well, in fact, we are letting go of the old mind, so that's not entirely wrong. You may feel like you may feel lost, you may feel confused. You may also feel like you don't know what to do with yourself. You may feel a little bit unstable on your feet. And that's because your old identity is dropping. Your old identity is dropping. Explain to them what that means. When I say your old identity is dropping, the way you used to identify yourself with doesn't have as strong of a hold on you anymore. And this is happening through a process of releasing. We are releasing density. So the ultimate goal of releasing density is feeling lighter. But as we're going through this releasing density process, it may make us, in fact, it does make us feel a little bit wonky, like we're not really stable. So it's going to mess with our stability. Okay. If you feel that, and chances are you will if you don't already, I'm supposed to tell you to let you know that this is all very normal. And as they say, this too shall pass. It will last a little time. It will last a while, but ultimately, once the density keeps dropping and dropping lower, we will begin to feel more expanded and more lighter. Okay? So what we are going through is essentially a frequency upgrade, where our own frequency is being upgraded, and our body has to be able to handle that. So one of the things I'm going to talk about in a moment is the challenges of going through this process of ascension to this place we call New Earth. Okay. If you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling the way I've explained, that I've just listed, please know that this is normal. This is expected. In fact, if it wasn't happening, if you didn't feel that way, then that means everything would just be staying status quo, and things are not staying status quo. They're not meant to stay status quo any longer. And that's both internally and externally. Also, please drink lots of water. That goes without saying. Water is an energy conductor, and the more the body needs sufficient fluid in order to move that frequency all the way through our body so it doesn't get stuck. So hydration is very important. All right, so let's talk about this ascension, this living in this new earth. What does that mean? And by the way, this new earth is not someplace else. This new earth is here now. It's happening within us. It's an internal evolution. It's an involution. It is basically raising of one's consciousness. New Earth can often be described as a transformative experience where humanity shifts to a higher level of consciousness, embracing unity, love, and deep connection to all of life. This is a departure from fear-based ego-driven existence, and a move towards a world that reflects our highest potential. So it's a great place to be, right? Who doesn't want to experience more? Be more expanded. So here are some things that happen as a result of us going through this process. Here's what New Earth is all about. Here are the benefits. First and foremost, shift in consciousness, shift in our awareness. An expanded awareness of our interconnectedness with all beings. We begin to realize that we are not an island and that we are connected to everything and everyone. And this allows us to let go of fear, let go of limitations, and becoming more aware that we are part of oneness, and also we have more empathy and compassion for every living being, regardless of what it is. And this heightened consciousness, this higher awareness, this shift in consciousness, not only allows us to be better people, because let's face it, we could always be better, but it also helps us create different experiences. More profound experiences that are more aligned with higher consciousness, with love, with compassion. We live more in mindfulness and the understanding that our thoughts and actions have a profound effect on the entire collective. In other words, if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. If you hurt me, you're hurting yourself, because we're all connected. So we pay more attention to what we say and what we do, and how we behave, and how our actions affect other people. Not only people, nature. So that's one of the benefits, shift of consciousness. Now, second one, living from the heart. This, as it suggests, is a heart-centered way of being, where decisions and actions are guided by kindness, by love, with the intention to uplift and motivate others rather than take them down, to destroy them. This is what it means, living from the heart. It allows us to be more heart-centered, heart open-hearted, connected to our emotions, and aligned with our true selves. And this helps to form different types of relationships, ones that are based on authenticity, trust, and mutual respect. Who doesn't want that? Harmony with nature. It's another benefit of going through this process of ascension. Harmony with nature. It's where we begin to have deep reverence for the natural world, where humanity lives in harmony with planet Earth, recognizing that she's a living, breathing being that deserves care or respect, just like we do and everything else. I remember when I was a very young child, I must have been about 5, probably not more than that. And I remember being with my mom and her friend in the woods area, and we were picking flowers, white flowers. And I believe these flowers were called lily of the valley, the little white flowers that start growing in March, I think, or April. In any case, I remember picking these flowers, and I remember saying out loud, the greatest threat to Mother Earth or nature is a human being. The greatest threat to Mother Nature is a human being. I said that out loud at about the age of 5. Forgot about it. And then years and decades later, I remembered that, and I thought, that's interesting that I had this sort of an awareness at the age of 5, because maybe it is normal, I don't know, but to me it wasn't. Years later, it's like I had this moment of clarity that I just knew what I knew. And that knowing went way beyond the 5-year-old's mind. So back to living in harmony with nature. When we live in harmony with nature, we are naturally more at peace. Why? Because nature is very peaceful. Nature always gives us peace. Nature knows how to heal. We are all made of earth. And actually, this is what they said to me the other day. Your physical body is made of earth. Therefore, earth knows what is best for you in terms of healing. Nature knows what you need. Nature has everything you need to heal. That's what I was told. I think it makes sense to me. Nature also offers us perspectives. Nature thrives when everything lives in harmony. So nature gives us a lot of wisdom. But do we pay attention to nature's wisdom? Maybe sometimes do, sometimes we don't. Nature is also, what I'm being asked to say, unconditional. Nature is. It has no restrictions. Nature simply is. Nature knows no rejection. I guess we could argue that point, but it's what I'm being asked to say. Nature is at peace with itself. By having a closer relationship to nature, we as humans will begin to heal much faster and much better. Nature is our ally. Nature is not our enemy. Sometimes we treat nature as an enemy. Okay? Nature wants to give. Nature doesn't hold back. Because nature knows its nature. It will always be more. Nature has no limits on herself. Okay. So that can teach us a lot in terms of what we can or what we can't. Number 4, healing and wholeness. As part of being in the new earth, it's being in a place of profound healing, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. As we all awaken to our true nature, we begin to release density, our wounds, our traumas, our limitations, and returning to the state of wholeness. The more we realize who we are, where we come from, not only the more whole we feel, because we realize we are whole anyway, the more we release ourselves from our restrictions, which allows us to feel lighter, more energized, more connected to inner wisdom, and healing becomes a natural part of the process, as part of being as being part of these higher frequencies. In other words, the higher we vibe, the more whole we feel, and the healthier we are. Well, who doesn't want that? I suspect everybody. Abundance and flow. This is an important one, or one that many people your ears will perk up. I just looked at the timer, 33:11. When we are in this new earth energy, we let go of lack and scarcity and replace that with the idea of natural flow of abundance. By vibrating higher, we know that there is always more that we can create, so that we don't have to hold on and grab onto things because of scarcity. And it's not just the material abundance. We're talking love, creativity, opportunities, spiritual fulfillment, anything, any sort of abundance. The higher we vibe, the more naturally we expand, and the more we expand, the more we welcome new opportunities. There's always more, there's always more, there's always more. So we let go of this scarcity thinking, the lack mentality. When that happens, we're far less driven by fear of not having enough. So what we experience is greater ease, more synchronicities, feeling more fulfilled, because we're more in flow of life. We're more in the flow with life. We're not resisting flow of life. We have more trust. Who doesn't want more trust? Peace and tranquility. Well, pretty self-explanatory. When we're vibing higher, we naturally are more at peace with ourselves. We feel filled. We feel whole. We are less at conflict with ourselves. We are not fighting ourselves on the inside. And that, of course, is reflected on the outside. If you have peace in your body, if you have peace in your mind, if you have peace in your heart, you are going to naturally radiate that out. That means that you experience life that's calm, stable, a lot freer from stress and turmoil. Life just feels more pleasant. Who doesn't want that? Spiritual connection. Part of vibing higher is us naturally being more connected to our true nature, our divinity, God, whatever term you want to use. And by doing so, by being in that space, we recognize that everything and everyone is part of that source. That we are all unique and we have our differences in our uniqueness, but we are also the same, part of the same. And that creates a societal fabric where we create less division in our world and more inclusivity, where we feel more included versus feeling excluded. Who doesn't want to feel that? So these are some of the things that are the benefits of essentially us moving through this process of involution to a higher consciousness. However, it's not a walk in the park, okay? As I'm sure you know that. So let's talk about these things. Because as beautiful as this process is and where we're heading, it doesn't come without its challenges. And it can be a thorny road. Let's use that analogy. And let me go through some of the challenges and see if you recognize them, because likely if you haven't yet, you will. It's just part of the process. Doesn't matter what. Everyone has to go through it. Just everyone is on different journeys, so there will be varying degrees as to how much you experience of what. Resistance to change. Are you familiar with that one? Because I am. Just because I do this work doesn't mean that I don't experience my own ascension process. Of course I do. I have to be part of it. In order for me to talk about it, I have to be part of it. Otherwise, I have no idea. So, a big part of moving to this higher awareness, higher consciousness, is to let go of the familiar. Is to let go of old, familiar, outdated beliefs, structures, and habits. And this can manifest itself as fear, denial, or clinging to the old ways. It's hard to let go of something you've known all your life, especially if it defines you. If you are, for example, and I'm going to use this example because it's easily understood. If you identified yourself as someone who is, let's say, not good enough, and you don't know yourself outside of that, letting go of that structure can present a tremendous discomfort, because without that, you don't know who you are. And the ego is scared. There's a lot of fears about not the unknown. So there will be quite a bit of resistance that will be experienced. And I'm sure you have been experiencing this resistance, or if you haven't already, you will. It's just part of this process. This can create frictions and conflicts. as the old system and paradigms coexist and compete. So part of you letting go of your old identity, you are naturally going to be assuming a new identity. And how does that fit in your world? It's a lot of unknown. And the ego doesn't like change. The ego likes to cling to what it knows because it knows. It knows what it is. At least it knows what to expect. Facing the shadow self, that's my favorite because my entire existence in this world is to help people move through their shadows, to release their shadows, to transform their shadows. That's my work. That's what I do, and that's what I believe I'm really good at. But it means that you're going to often be confronted with some of your shadows. Some of your fears will come up to the surface. And this can be, and often is, very uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable. As we move through fears and traumas and negative emotions, it can get pretty uncomfortable. And I suspect you know what I'm talking about because everyone goes through it. Sometimes without proper guidance or support, you may struggle with a lot of overwhelm, confusion, despair. There's a term that I forgot what it is. It's not ego death, dark night of the soul. Yeah, okay, so dark night of the soul, if you kind of Google it, is essentially a depersonalization process whereby a person is going through a process where they are depersonalizing themselves. They are letting go of aspects of their personality, and your personality is tied to an ego. And that is very scary. So you might want to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm going through this process. Can you help me out? And there's one thing that I can promise you. I don't promise too many things. Well, I can promise you that if you do something stupid, you're not going to like it, as a joke. But I can promise you this. When you ask the universe to help you with the process, the universe will always find a way to put something in front of you. Always. How it arrives to you, what package, how soon or how far, that all depends on your own unique journey, because the universe knows exactly what you need, but you will always be presented with exactly what you need. You may not want it, but you need it. So do yourself a favor, ask the universe for help if you desire help, and see what happens, and things will be placed in front of you. Your job is to decipher what is appropriate for you and what isn't, what's calling you, and then, do with it whatever you do. There are people and resources that are of help to assist people in this transition. I'm one of them. And I'm just hearing, it doesn't even have to cost you money. Just the right resources will be placed in front of you. Well, this video doesn't cost you anything, as an example. Okay? There's also free books, free articles, gazillion videos. That there's plethora of tools that is available to us all day long. We just have to align ourselves with those tools. So if you ask the universe to help you, the universe will step in and help. Okay, all you have to do is just to be willing to do the work, because doesn't matter who comes to you, doesn't matter who you work with, the work will always remain with you. You will have to do your work. You will never be able to bypass it. Okay, but you can have assistance with your work 100%. Releasing attachments to ego. As we transcend the ego and its attachments to identity, status, and materialism, have to go. And it's a very challenging process, and the ego may resist. in order to assert control and dominance. That's what the ego does. Okay? So this can feel like an internal conflict. You may go back and forth between your higher self and your ego-driven desires. You may feel like you are unstable on your feet, because if you've held onto something for a long time, and you've learned that it's always there, so it's kind of source of your stability on some level. If all of a sudden you release it and let it go, then there's a fear that you will not know what's going to happen. And that's all very normal. We are all moving to, I want to say unknown territory, but it's actually not unknown. We've been there before. It's just in our current body suit, we just don't remember. Okay, so we are essentially in the process of remembering. This is what we're really doing. So letting go of attachments to ego is very hard. I remember a few years ago now when I used to go by the name Joanna the Medium, because that's what came to me. And very few years later, I was in a ceremony and a being said to me, "Joanna, you're no longer a medium. It limits you." And I remember going, "Oh, who am I?" Because I associated myself with the idea of being a medium. And when they said, "You're no longer a medium, it limits you," I didn't know how to identify myself. And it was scary. And I realized, wow, I didn't realize I had this attachment to that. So that's when the being said, "Well, you're a healer." And then I went, "What? No, blah, 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 not worthy." All my belief system came up and said, "Joanna, how could you possibly be a healer? Have you lost your mind? You're not worthy. Who the hell are you? What? Healer? Not you." You get the idea. And this is what the being said. I'll never forget it. He said, "Okay, look, you're all healers. You're all healers. You all have the ability to heal. You're not here to heal them. You are here to help them how to heal, to show them how to heal." And he said, "You have two choices. You can either accept it or deny it." And I thought to myself, well, for one, I'm not going to argue with you because it sounds like you know what you're talking about. And I just said, okay, I accept the fact that I'm a healer. And then I started to call myself Joanna the Healer. But even now, this Joanna the Healer is kind of, I'm not sure. So again, I had to almost take on a new identity, which presented a lot of problems for me internally because I could not comprehend the whole idea of me being a healer. What? But then I started to slowly but surely begin to remember, Joanna, you're not here to heal anybody, because that's a lot of responsibility. Not only that, I don't, what do you mean healed? I don't heal. What do you mean I heal? What? But when I remembered when he said, we're all healers, we all have the ability, and my job is to facilitate someone's healing journey, I became less and less resistant to it. So that's a short clip of why I call myself Joanna the Healer. I don't heal you. So the attachment to the medium, Joanna the Medium, was very big. And for a while there, I didn't know what to call myself. And the whole idea of calling myself Joanna the Healer was like, I had to grow into it. Disconnection from the old world. What happens often when we go through this process, we begin to lose interest in the old. And that includes jobs, hobbies, people, relationships, things you like, books you read, tastes. All of that begins to change, and it may feel a little bit out of sorts because, again, what was always there, you've depended on, and now all of a sudden it's changing, and it's like, okay, if I don't resonate with that, then what do I resonate with? And my answer to that would be, listen to your body. Listen to your body. Your body is like a barometer that tells you if you resonate with something or if you don't. Listen to your body. So it's very important to pay attention to what the body is telling you. As you go through this process of realizing that you don't like this doesn't serve you anymore, you don't feel like hanging out with these people, it can feel a little bit isolating. It can feel like no one understands you. It can feel like maybe like even no one likes you. You're changing. You're becoming somebody different. Well, we can argue that point. You're not becoming different. You're realizing your true essence, but let's just say you're becoming different than what you're used to. And that's very uncomfortable because you're trying to figure yourself out. Who am I? Who am I? So it's a bit of a place of instability. But again, that's very, very, very normal. Integration of new energies. This is important for me to say because I, especially lately, have been feeling extremely fatigued. And ever since that dream, the energy I work with is very big. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just bigger. It's just bigger. I can still hear my noise, but this energy is bigger. And I find that I get tired very easily. It's that my body gets very fatigued by hanging out with this higher frequency. That's in terms of my work. But our bodies have to learn how to hold this new energy, how to hold this higher frequency. And that has its toll on a physical body, because it all has to go through your cells, and it has to go through all your organs. It has to go through all your electrical system, and you're not used to holding so much energy. Okay, and we are aiming at housing more of higher frequencies in our bodies. Now, listen to this. The more higher frequency we hold within the body, the more we are in a healing process, because higher frequency is naturally more healing. So although it may feel uncomfortable, it's ultimately extremely positive. It just can feel a little bit wonky. So making sure that we eat properly, making sure we drink lots of water, making sure that we get adequate exercise or not over-exercising. Again, being really willing to listen to the body and what the body wants, what the body needs. If you've never eaten steak, for example, and all of a sudden your body's like, oh, I want me some steak, have yourself some steak. Don't judge yourself for it. Because your body knows. Now, if you say, my body's telling me to have alcohol, I will say, no, your body's telling you it needs to numb itself, but it's not what it wants. Alcohol just happens to be the vehicle. Your body will not want alcohol. Okay? Thank you. So one of the things I also want to say is that refrain from using substances in order to numb your emotions. This is not a time for numbing. We've numbed long enough. This is a time of releasing. Okay? So just like I was talking about earlier, that you're going to get triggers, shadows are going to come up, fears are going to come up. Letting your body release a lot of toxic energy, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually, is really important right now. Okay? Why was I talking about this? And yes, okay. So making sure you have enough rest, enough water. Take care of your body. Listen to your body. If you're used to being very extreme with your body, for example, like if you're like so extreme in measuring your calories that if you overeat by 25 calories, you're mad at yourself all day. Maybe look at why you have that need. Why is it such a focus for you? Because likely what it does, it's masking some inner conflict. This is a time where you want to allow your body to purge inner conflict. Okay, so you will have often dreams that are scary, for example, not necessarily, but can be scary. For the last few months, I mean, I dream all the time. If I don't dream, it's weird. But I toss and turn and I throw myself all over the bed, and it's been going that way for months. I'm clearly processing something. Clearly I'm processing something. So then I have, let's say 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but I maybe slept 2 hours or 3 hours. So I wake up very tired. So, there's ways where you can mitigate that, but you might be going through a time where you're tired, but you're not able to sleep. Okay, try to find the best way to manage that, because at the end of the day, your body needs rest. Okay. Spiritual bypassing. This is a big one. This is spiritual. It's very real, and it's kind of understandable. We just want to go to the other side without doing any of the inner work. Why? Because inner work is difficult. It's challenging. It is not comfortable. So spiritual bypassing is when somebody is using spiritual practices to avoid dealing with unresolved psychological or emotional issues. Okay? You don't want to do that. For one, you can't. You're not going to be able to. Because if something is within yourself, unless it's resolved, it's just going to stay there. It's going to stay there. So shadow work, okay? Don't shy away from doing shadow work. It is a lot of work. I'll be honest with you. But if you're watching this, you're not afraid of that kind of work. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You may not like it. You may I don't feel that's comfortable. But you're not. Well, okay, if you are shying away from doing shadow work, then ask yourself the question, why? Because unless you confront your shadow, unless you integrate your shadow, you're always going to be living in separation of yourself. And that is not where we're going. So you can't escape it. There's no way around it. If you try to bypass it this lifetime, you're going to come back and do it next time. Not as a punishment. It's just your soul wants... You need to move through it. There's just no way around it. Also, no one can do it for you. And I've mentioned this before. Your work is your work. Your shadow is your shadow. Your inner work is your inner work. No one or no thing can do it for you. Okay? It's not how it works. However, there are plenty of resources, people, and tools that can help you and assist you and perhaps guide you through your own shadow-facing process. This is what I do. I call myself the Queen of Shadows. Okay? Ultimately, in order to have peace within ourselves, we have to integrate our separate selves. And humans think of themselves as separate. Okay? We live in a density of separation. Last but not least, navigating uncertainty. Moving to this higher awareness means stepping into the unknown. But again, I want to say unknown in this body. It's not unknown because it's where we're heading is ultimately where we come from. Okay, we're just remembering. But in this physicality, it is an unknown. And fear, the ego doesn't like the unknown. It fears the unknown. So this may trigger anxiety. It may trigger stress. It may make you feel alone, misunderstood. It can make you feel afraid of what's going to happen in the future. Okay? That's all very normal. It's all very normal. The idea here is not to fight the fear. The idea here is to embrace your fear, if I may say that. And I'm going to go even further and let it assist you. How can fear assist you? It can. Once you understand the deeper meaning of your fear, you will be able to see how fear has been assisting you all your life. It's just been assisting you in a way that you don't want. So this is about you changing your relationship with your fear. When you change your relationship with your fear, fear no longer will be the boss of you. Okay? You will not let fear limit you. You can have a fear, but you may choose not to let it limit you. That's the power you have. You have this power right now. You just don't know it. You just don't know it. Integration. Ultimately, it's about integrating the duality of light and dark, good and bad. When we are in a higher understanding, when we are in higher awareness, the idea of judgment, good and bad, light or dark, is integrated. We no longer live in the idea of good or bad or judgments. We release judgments. Imagine for a moment you had no judgments about yourself. None. You had a good head on your shoulders. You know right from wrong, but you're not judgy about yourself or others. And just, first of all, realize that you can be that right now. But also realize at the same time how your own judgments have a hold on you. You judge yourself all the time. We all do. It's part of our structure right now. It's to release some of those judgments. You know what a judgment feels like, because when someone judged you, it didn't feel very good. Now, if you don't care, congratulations to you, but most people have a fear of judgment. That's why people hide. So releasing judgments becomes something much more natural when we are vibing in these higher frequencies. So that's what I have for you on this video. It was a little bit different than I am used to. I like it. I feel like it's a good reminder. In fact, I have created an entire platform to help people navigate through this process. If you are interested to know what that is, I have an announcement that I will be making in a few weeks so that I can make this platform available to more people. And it's essentially designed to help you move through the process while someone is there for you, giving you a helping hand, where people, much like you, get together in a safe, sacred space where you can talk about all the different experiences and, first of all, realize you're not alone in this, but also be helped by different individuals, such as myself, so that you can navigate this process a little bit easier. I remember this was a few years ago. I was going to get my nails done, I think, because I remember exactly where I was. And I had this wave of awareness come to me, and the information was something like this. The world is going to very shortly need people like you and I. What does that mean? People who have a higher, people who understand what's going on in order to help others make sense of what's going on, because there will be a lot of people that will be starting to feel like they're going crazy. This process can make you feel like you're going crazy. Absolutely 100%. I've had that moment quite a few times. So if someone is walking around and thinking they're crazy and they're losing their mind because they are losing their old mind and they don't know what's happening, having someone come, be in their company and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening. This is what's going on with you. These are the things that you might want to look at. These are the things you want to watch out for. Oh, by the way, here's the resource that you can help. All of a sudden, you're helping a person to manage their path a little bit better, because it can be a scary and uncomfortable process. But you are watching this. You are here. You are doing it. You're right smack in the middle of it, which means, yeah, you might be uncomfortable, but you are here. You're in it. You're in it. So pat yourself on the back, because this is not an easy road. So anyway, if you would like more information or on what that looks like, what my platform is all about and how it can help you and support you, just click on JoannaTheHealer.com and get yourself some free goodies, and you'll automatically go on my mailing list. And in a few weeks, you'll see the announcement. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, for giving me your energy, or, it's reciprocal. And again, I hope that this information was helpful. I would love for you to comment. Perhaps let me know what sort of things you're going through right now, what resonated with you, or what is resonating, or what is happening with you that I haven't mentioned yet. And there's a lot more, but I picked the kind of like top 6 or 7 that can be most easily identified. So, but by all means, if there's something that you would like me to cover, just let me know, and then we'll make it happen. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I look forward to seeing you. Please subscribe, share, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.